What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Opinionated Off-Topic. Today I'm with Carlos Mojica, co-owner, co-founder of Opinionated Media. I'm Cam Theory. I'm with Joel. Is it Mower?
Joel Mower.
Joel Mower.
Almost like Joel Mower.
Yeah. With Joel Mower. Super excited to connect. We had talked recently. We had a phone call probably a couple weeks ago and just got to, introductory call, got to know you, hear a little bit about your story and love your story. And, you've been keeping tabs with us. I really appreciate the engagement, liking our stories and paying attention to the stuff we're doing, and excited just to get to know you more, hear about what you're doing with Dink Ninjas and, everything pickleball related. It's still kind of foreign for me and Carlos. We know a little bit about it. I played it a couple times, but not an expert by any means. But yeah, I wanted to jump it off and give us a little introductory about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Joel Mower, and I started Dink Ninjas Pickleball about coming up on 2 years ago. I started playing pickleball probably 6 months before that. Got introduced by a local pro here. Brandon Insikpong is his name. He's a local pro, plays at a really high level, does a lot of clinics, all that kind of stuff around here locally, and plays on the PPA and APP tour. He was over at the house one day with his wife and kids having dinner and asked me if I'd started playing pickleball yet. And I said, no. And he said, well, what's your excuse? So I said, well, let's go, man. Let's figure it out. So he takes me out to the trunk of his car, and he's got like 20 paddles out there. He's getting paddles shipped to him all the time to get him to test and review and give him tips and how they're manufacturing, all that. And he said, grab one, see what you like. And so I grabbed it. A couple days later, I found myself in Georgetown, Texas at McMaster's Park over there, and just stacked my paddle with a bunch of folks over there and jumped on the court. There's a gal about 70-something years old, said, hey, how do you like to play? I said, I haven't played before. And she just smirks at me a little bit and says, well, jump on with me. Super advanced player, and was just super inviting to the sport, just created a super fun dynamic and great introduction to the sport. After that, a couple matches in, I was hooked. I was having so much fun, and there's so much of a broad demographic, age range, all that are out there playing just at a local park in Georgetown, kind of cutting up and snipping at each other and talking some trash and stuff. And it was a lot of fun. Since then I was hooked. And so I was probably 6 months into playing, enjoying the sport, and ended up getting a challenging health diagnosis with my wife. She was diagnosed with cancer. We've got 2 young kids, and I was, as a dad of young kids, I was kind of thrown for a loop, kind of put in a bad headspace, and was realizing that, well, what has kept me sane? What have I been having a lot of fun with? What's a great way to blow off steam? Pickleball. And so I wasn't sleeping one night, and I decided, hey, let's do something in pickleball. Let's try and grow the community of pickleball in my circle and in my little sphere of young families and entrepreneurs and business owners and all that I'm lucky enough to associate with. And I decided, hey, let's pour all this negative energy into the entrepreneurial side of it. Pickleball sparked me to have a lot of fun initially, and I figured, hey, let's pour my negative energy that I'm getting from this diagnosis into the entrepreneurial side of the sport and try and create something that people can wear, people can enjoy, and even non-pickleball related people have something. Hey, they can learn the story, they can realize where it sprouted from, and they can enjoy the brand as well as rolling it into the space of pickleball. Long story short, my wife is cancer-free.
Nice. Congratulations.
Doing super good. Hormones are all back to normal. Is an amazing mom to our kiddos and an amazing wife to me. And I realized that in that kind of trying time for me as a dad and a husband, she was a lot more support to me than I could have ever imagined. Mm-hmm. On the, hey, let's go into this entrepreneurial space. Let's create this kind of art form for you, and supportive through the hardest time in her life up until now, and hopefully it's the hardest time she ever experiences in the future. But we've been super blessed with the outcome of overcoming her cancer diagnosis and getting back on the healthy side of things. Mm-hmm. And the sport for me and the business for me has just been a huge blessing because I love connecting with people like yourselves. I would never meet you guys. You know, you live in Round Rock, I live in Leander. Our circles are probably rarely going to cross, but social media and different connections, different collaborations that you make has been such a blessing for me because I can't get enough talking to people, introducing myself, figuring out where everybody's coming from, what they're doing to overcome an adverse situation or just an entrepreneurial aspiration that they have. And I couldn't be more blessed with the outcome so far.
Were you doing entrepreneurship before you started the pickleball company?
I was not.
No.
I was not. I've always either when I was back in California a lot of years ago now, 15 years ago, I was a custom home builder. And so I was in business with my older brother, building commercial and residential custom buildings and equestrian breeding farms and all kinds of different dental offices and all that kind of stuff. And then when I moved here, got into the inspection side of things, so real estate inspections, so commercial and residential transactions. We'll go in and do health, safety, structural, all that kind of inspections. But that's always been for somebody else.
Yeah.
This has been a really enjoyable exit from that for me. I still work for somebody else. I still do inspections, but having my own thing that I'm in charge of and I choose which direction it goes. I choose the creative direction, the production direction, what we post on social media, all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun for me to be kind of the art director of what I'm doing, when I do it, how often I do it, all that kind of stuff. It's a really fun, enjoyable exit.
Has that been like a challenge for you to like start posting on social media and figuring out more creative different ways to post on social media or what videos to put out to like get people to come to your page or your channel or to outings and whatnot?
It's been a big, just in general, the whole entrepreneurial side has been a huge learning curve for me because I'm somewhat tech savvy, but I'm not the type that's going to design my own website. I'm not going to design my own social media page. I'm not going to figure out I don't know how point of sale works in e-commerce, all that kind of stuff. And so it's been a ton of fun for me. I love learning new things, love learning new skills. And so it's been a lot of fun for me to figure out the social media side, figure out how to design a website, figure out how to learn point of sale, learn kind of the directions of what sells, what doesn't, all that kind of stuff. And in getting myself out there in that aspect of the social media side and getting over a fear of not necessarily public speaking, if you will, but being in the public eye of your sphere of business and entrepreneurship. One of my good friends, he has a business that is video messaging. And so he introduces people in the corporate space or personal space to video messaging. And so he's got a software company behind that. And the whole idea of it is if I want to connect with you, an email, yeah, that's great, but it's somewhat old school.
Yeah.
You're going to go into the spam folder. You're going to go into the junk folder. You're going to be one of 150 emails that I just received today that I'm going to sift through at some point. This is a video software where I'm going to send you a video introducing myself to you. You can see my facial expression. You can gather my demeanor. You can gather my passion about what I'm pitching to you or just wanting to connect with you for a collaboration or a potential partnership or whatever the case is. And that video messaging has really been great for me because you're, for one, seeing yourself on a video recording, and you're able to send that to someone. And nowadays, I mean, the software, as everybody knows, is so incredibly advanced. It doesn't matter if you're on a laptop. It doesn't matter if you're on a MacBook, an iPhone, Android, whatever, comes through crystal clear HD video, and it's of me pitching myself to you or introducing myself to you. And that's been a great experience for me to use that because if somebody wants to do a potential partnership or they want to talk about something like that, I send them a video. They see first of all, they see my brand. It's not
Yeah.
super camouflaged, you know.
Yeah.
They instantly know who I am.
And the colors pop out, and
You
it's
know.
a good colorway too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. But it's a lot of fun for me to be able to use all these different tools like that and add them to my toolbox, because I was not in the business of sending video messages to anybody. And my buddy Doug's like, hey, first person that, after you've gotten the hang of this, after you've cut your teeth on this video messaging software, first person who orders something from you, doesn't matter what it is, you have their email, they submitted it with their order, you have their phone number, they submit it with their order a lot of times to be part of our discount program. Send them a video, introduce yourself, thank them for the support of your art form, your brand that you've created. And the transparency there is mind-blowing. Everybody messages back
a game changer
within
for sure.
minutes and says, hey, I bought a lot of stuff. Everybody buys a lot of stuff, whether it's toilet paper on Amazon or whatever the case. Amazon's never reached out to you and said, hey, thank you for your business. Thank you for supporting our toilet paper business, or whatever the case is, you know. But it creates a really strong connection right out of the chute. And they can be in Canada, or they can be in Europe, wherever they buy stuff from. You know, they can be in New York City and get a video of me introducing myself and thanking them for their support and all that. And that's been really groundbreaking to me, just from a entrepreneurial side, to be able to produce those videos comfortably and be able to talk to people, because you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
You don't know who they are or what age they are or anything. But me introducing myself to them, that cuts through a lot of the static of who am I supporting.
Yeah.
You know, when I go to purchase something, whether it's in the pickleball space or otherwise.
Is it just you, or do you have a team that like helps you as well?
It's me.
Just you?
It's me. I'm a one-man show.
Have you found any struggles like working a regular job and still trying to grow this and do this on the side? Because I mean, most companies are during the day, so like if you have to reach out to just a new vendor, trying to get new vendors, but you have an inspection to go do at 1:30 in the afternoon, like have you found any struggles posts on social media trying to get new vendors or trying to get new eyes to the platform, just it being you?
I'm sure that I have over time, but I think that being a new entrepreneur, just in general, much less in a new sports space, I've just had to learn to really make good use of my time and decide, you know, the night before or two nights before or over the weekend, okay, Tuesday afternoon, boom, this is what I'm doing. I know I've got a clear window to just sit down, you know, no other distractions, and just go for it for that block of time. And then 2 days later, 1 day later, whatever, you can go back to it and finish up what you were doing, or, you know, start something new. But one of the nice things about social media and how advanced it is now is all the scheduling. You can schedule post drops for 2 weeks from now, and the progression to build up to it, and how many you want, and the dollars spent per ad, and all that kind of stuff, which is amazing for an entrepreneur to be able to do that, where it's 1:30 in the afternoon, you know, and I've got a business call, or I've got an inspection review, or somebody's coming in from out of town to look at a space. It's all done for me, you know. It's all done for me behind the scenes, and Instagram, whether they know it or not, works really, really hard for all of us.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So going into, you know, kind of the branding and, you know, the Ninja, you told me on the phone, like, why you came up with the logo, but I guess to the audience listeners and to Carlos, what was kind of the thought process behind the Ninja?
I was not sleeping one night, as I do a lot with all this stuff going on. And I realized, hey, who is going to be a really difficult opponent if you're on the pickleball court? What kind of character traits are they going to have? All that kind of stuff. And I thought, well, if you're playing pickleball against a ninja, he's going to just eat your lunch every time, right? He's going to be out there cooking. And so I thought, well, the term dink is a really common shot in pickleball. You're right up at the kitchen line, and it's kind of a soft, deceptive shot. You're trying to create an awkward position for your opponents and try and beat them in that way so you can speed it up. And so I thought, well, Dink Ninjas. Put the ninja together with the shot selection that you're going to make. And meld them together and see if it takes. And so far, it's had some really good brand awareness and got some good traction out there. So I think it was a fun kind of mold for me to put both of those together. And there is a alternate side to the Dink where people who don't play pickleball and they're not affiliated or don't play with the sport, they seem to think it means dual income, no kids. So you're really good at being a dual income, no kids provider, I guess. A lot of people started asking me that when I launched the brand, and I just kind of chuckled, and I realized they're not exactly avid pickleball players, and they need to be introduced to the sport. Mm-hmm. So, hey, let's introduce them to the sport here, you know?
I didn't know that it was like obviously it's an actual sport, but like that there's professional leagues, there's different kinds of hits and whatnot. Like,
yeah.
I thought it was just like a slower paced tennis, and it was just, just easy and outgoing and fun to play. I didn't know there was like a whole, obviously you compete, but like a whole competitive side to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And a little backstory on that. When I first, my wife and I first moved to Texas, I got into the inspection side of things 14 years ago now. And I was up in Georgetown. There's a retirement community called Sun City, Georgetown up there. And I go to do an inspection on this guy's house, and I walk into his office study, and he's got every medal you could ever think of, all these trophies, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, this guy's excellent at whatever he's doing. And I look closely and I go, he's won all this stuff playing pickleball? What the heck is pickleball? 15 years ago, I had no idea what the sport was. So I talked to everybody. I had this really long conversation with him. I was probably late to my next appointment talking about pickleball because he's on the national senior tour playing all over the U.S. Obviously, he's excellent at it because he's medaling in all these tournaments. He's got 40, 50 tournament medals in there. And he was so into it. He was having so much fun. He was a former athlete. Having that ability to get the competitive juices flowing as a senior in the pickleball space. He was a former tennis player, but obviously at 70, 80 years old, you're not running around on a tennis court very proficiently. But that was my introduction to the sport originally, the first time I had ever heard about it. And I go, wow, this is a totally, have I been living under a rock? How many people know about this that I don't realize they know about pickleball, you know? But to your point, it is relatively recent. 8-10 years is really when it started kicking off. And then it's really entrepreneurs in the pickleball space who decided, hey, let's create an organization and a tour structure for this sport. Because the PPA Tour hasn't been around for that long. Connor Perdot is the founder of that, and he's a young entrepreneur as well. And I mean, he's young as well, very young compared to me, but bringing that entrepreneurial side and the structure to the sport has really created the proliferation around the U.S. And he's in competition with the APP Tour, which is the other kind of competing tour in the pro pickleball scene. But really, to your point, it is pretty darn recent where there's been this really high-level competition. And then I think that COVID brought on a massive boost in the pickleball scene as well, because everybody realized, sheesh, you can get on Amazon for a couple $100. You can buy a net. Our cul-de-sac all of a sudden just turned into a pickleball court. We got paddles online. We got all this stuff online. All these people that I talked to were saying, and they were able to compete and talk trash and get that family dynamic growing out there where you're forming bonds where you got a dad and a mom and two young kids. None of them have ever played pickleball before, but they're out in the street having a ball in the middle of a pandemic of all things. That really kicked off the growth of the sport because it introduced a lot of different people, young, old, in shape, maybe not so in shape, to the sport. And the progression of health growth, mental health, physical health, all that kind of stuff has really had a great impact on communities all over the US.
I feel like that's one of the reasons why it's so successful is because It doesn't matter how old, how young you are. It doesn't matter how fit or unfit you are. You can play.
Yeah.
Just because it's slow pace, but you also get that I'm working out kind of feel to it because you're being active and you're doing something.
Yeah.
And most of the time it is outside. So you're outside, you're in the sun, you're getting all the energy and vitamins you need. So like that's like it's just easy for people to gravitate to and go play. Rather go play tennis where you actually have to run, or racquetball or basketball or walking around the track. Something that's boring, you know?
Yeah.
At least like when you're doing things like this, it's just interactive. You don't think about like it being a workout. You're just having fun and you just get lost in playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that's really cool about the sport is, and I've played rec sports before. I'm not a college athlete or anything like that, but in my recreational experience, you show up to a basketball court, there's probably nobody there. So you're shooting free throws or 3-pointers or whatever you're doing there. And then maybe 2 people show up and maybe you can get a game of horse or 21 or whatever going on out there. You show up to a pickleball court, whoever this was that was a genius behind this, when there's a bunch of people there, there's paddle stacking. So most people are playing doubles, so they stack the paddles in stacks of 4. So you show up, I don't know any of y'all. I'm stacking my paddle here, 3 more people stack on top. All of a sudden I meet 3 new people. They may be younger than me, older than me, male, female, whoever they are from any walk of life. All of a sudden, I just met 3 new people, and I'm able to connect and have this new dynamic with them of creating a relationship or a friendship or a potential business partnership or whatever it is. And then there's 10 of those going on all at the same time. There's so many people who are introduced to the sport and no one else in their group is introduced to it. Somebody from work or a relationship or a friendship invites them and says, hey, come out and play. Introduce yourself to this sport. Let me show you how it's done. And so many single human beings, whether they're in a relationship or not, single athletes are showing up to this venue and meeting an immense amount of super fun people that are all learning this new sport to them together. And so I think it creates a lot of camaraderie just in communities.
Yeah, it's a nice way to meet people too, because since we've been doing this, we've met so many people who just recently moved here from other states or other countries.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make friends or struggling to make friends, but that's like everybody. It seems like from what I've gathered from everybody that's played, it seems like it's a fun community where everybody's friendly. So that's a nice place to make new friends or meet new people or, like you said, new business partners or whatever the case is.
Yeah, and it's really getting into the business to business side of it as well. There was just a write-up saying that golf is taking a back seat to pickleball
about to bring that up.
In corporate partnerships. And that's really true in from my experience on LinkedIn is the different people that connect with me on LinkedIn, and you realize they play pickleball. They're a retired NFL athlete. They're using pickleball to stay active and to connect with their former players, with current players, with coaching staff, with the front office, all these different things, and they're able to use pickleball to form those new partnerships. If the 3 of us were going to go into business together and we said, hey, we're going to go out and do a round of golf. Well, I'm with you guys for 4 hours maybe, if we don't get stuck behind some hokey golfers.
Yeah.
With pickleball, you can show up, you can play, you can meet new people that weren't even part of your corporate outing, and you can have a blast. And also, if you do like a pickleball meetup in a corporate setting, like a team building or something like that, you're meeting and interacting with 40 different people. You're not doing that on the golf course.
Yeah.
Maybe after in the clubhouse, you're hanging out, having a drink or whatever, and you can chat about it then. But even then, you're probably going to be at a booth or a table or whatever. And it's not going to be, from my perspective, what pickleball can provide for the just normal community as well as on the corporate side. I think that's really, really going to take over once everybody realizes how easy it is to the boss or HR department or whatever gets on Amazon and buys some paddles and they show up and they can go play with their new potential partners, that show up at the company outing or the team building or whatever the case is there.
Yeah, because when I mentioned off the camera, we just had these two people on. They said that pickleball is basically the new golf. That's where entrepreneurs are at. That's where the people that are more successful are at and playing during the day. And I feel like it's cheaper. It's easier to have access to. And like you said, I feel like in that space you can talk more. Rather golf, you talk a lot during golf, but it's like low, quiet talking. Can't talk when somebody's swinging. Yeah. Just like proper golf etiquette. And then you hit a bad shot, you get mad at yourself, and you're all pissed off and whatnot. But
going to the trees,
exactly.
The barrier entry too.
And then it does take a long time, and it is tiring. And you're sometimes not even with your group because, like you said, you hit in the trees. So they're in the fairway. You got to go way over here just to drop your ball or find your ball, and then you got to walk back, and it's just a lot. So I can see why it's becoming the new thing to do for business to go to or to meet business clients or just other entrepreneurs as well.
Yeah. I think it's really going to get a lot of traction in the business side of things for sure.
Yeah.
And then the city of Austin, there's so much going on in the fitness and wellness community. Like our homie Jacoby, he does a bunch of cold plunge meetups. Kind of started off as him going to Barton Springs, and then just branched into this massive community. Then you have all the run clubs around town as well, and then you also have so many pickleball brands, so many pickleball courts, things starting up and things like that. Would have been some of like the challenges, if any, with kind of the other competition out there, but also any crossover or collaborative efforts with some of the pickleball brands in the city?
There's actually been a lot of collaboration. We've done some collaborations with some Moneyball organizations, which is like poker night basically with paddles. Everybody's showing up. There's money on the line. There's competition going on there. We've had a lot of collaborations with different pickleball leagues that are out there of all ages and competitiveness levels. And then we've also had a lot of brand collaborations going on locally here, as well as further out in the other states around. But it's really interesting that from the entrepreneurial mindset, I try to differentiate myself from whoever the competition is out there. And you realize that in talking to all these different people, we are collaborating with cold plunge people. We're collaborating with runners. We're collaborating with all these different groups. And they all have a common goal: get off the couch.
Yeah.
They're all trying to stay active. And it turns out that a lot of people, there's a ultra marathon runner here in Austin who's very, very prominent in the running scene. I was talking to him, having a conversation at one of our social team building events, and he was saying that he plays pickleball to cross train because pickleball to him is exercising different muscles than running 100 miles. And so a lot of these different sports and different athletes are using the sport of pickleball to cross-train. And so there's a ton of synergy between, like you said, run clubs, cold plunging, recovery, all that kind of stuff. Because let me tell you, you go out and play pickleball for 2 hours, there's some recovery involved. Mm-hmm. You're going to need
the joints.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're going to need some red light therapy. Yeah. You're going to need some chiropractic activity going on. You're going to need to do some cold plunging, and pickleball does not have cold plunges. Yeah. You got to go somewhere else, you know, except for here at the Collective where they happen to have
everything.
The Leatherman super tool for athletes here,
Yeah. And then I guess with the paddles and things like that, we were kind of looking at some paddles here earlier, and I have some myself. There's some cheap ones on Amazon. Is it like golf where you can really tell the difference between like the paddles and balls you get? Does it really affect your game that much? Because I know in golf, like obviously you have to be, somewhat good, but if you can put the same golf player on the same course, and if someone has the best clubs and the best balls, they're gonna hit it further. Is it kind of similar in pickleball to where maybe the velocity or things like that, based off the paddle you kind of use?
So there is, I would say, from my perspective, there is a big difference between entry-level stuff and the high-end stuff, but there's a huge mid-level area where the average player, intermediate player, is not going to tell a huge difference. And a lot of people they're buying a paddle and they're nerding out on it to buy the paddle that's going to be conducive to their way of playing.
Okay.
So there's a lot of people who are former tennis players, very powerful shots. They're driving nonstop. Not a whole lot of dinking going on with tennis players. That'll be down the road a couple years when they realize, hey, there's another side of this sport. But there's a lot of difference in the construction of the paddles that makes it, like mine that I have manufactured for me, I spec'd out exactly what I want to play with. So that's what I would consider a control paddle or a finesse paddle, where you're getting a lot of touch and feel from the paddle versus a real rigid paddle where it's just driving the ball. Any velocity, it's going. You're driving it a lot with that. But one thing that differentiates the really high level players is you'll see a bunch of different paddle companies who have maybe a third of there's probably 3 right now that have the bulk of the paddle market, and they're selling millions of paddles a year. The highest price paddle that they have, they will endorse an athlete at the highest level. His contract or her contract is up. They switch paddle companies, totally different construction, totally different style of paddle. They're still winning. So there's a lot of it that is the athlete. You know, you give Tiger Woods a wooden broomstick, he's going to be able to drive the ball further than I can with some ping irons or TaylorMades or whatever the case is, you know. And it's the same. Ben Johns, the highest level, most winningest male player in the singles and doubles right now. He was at Bolden Acres on South Lamar, and people were filming him playing with a nonstick frying pan. And he was making insane shots against good level players with a frying pan. So, I mean, that kind of levels the playing field as far as he doesn't even have his dang sneakers tied. And he's playing with a frying pan and he's smoking people. So there is a lot that has to do with the level of athlete that you are. No matter what you put in their hand, they're gonna be able to get it done.
And I know there's some college athletes around town. Like I know Sydney. You did a collaboration with her, and he met Sydney because she was kind of who orchestrated our podcast with Adrian and Dr. Brad.
Oh yeah.
So
those are the people that I was talking about.
So they just did a collab. Like she did some marketing and stuff with Dink, and then her boyfriend is a professional player and as well plays at Texas. Have you been able to do anything with not only him but just like any other pros and collaboration kind of with growing your brand and things like that? Sydney is one of our recent collaborations. She's now an affiliate with us. Awesome.
So she just the other day, 2 days ago, she just released another collaboration with us. She did a photo shoot with us down at Urban Pickleball over here in downtown. So she's been a lot of fun to work with. She's a Texas State student, and Jack Monroe, her boyfriend, plays for Texas. But we've had initially our first kind of foray into the collegiate pickleball scene was through Penn State. They've got a big pickleball club there, and I think they just built some $40 million
That's nice.
place on campus of just dedicated pickleball courts on the Penn State campus. And then Mount Aloysius was another one that we did a bunch of collaborations with early on. And then one of our affiliates is a University of Virginia student, and she's a Division I tennis player. And then her mom actually, probably a year and a half ago, I think now, introduced her to the sport of pickleball. And she's been playing 4 or 5 days a week now, and she won the national title last year. Peachtree, Georgia. So
you might know, but like, I'm assuming pickleball in college is more of
I was gonna.
It's not like
like Title IX, like scholarship.
It's not like a scholarship sport. It's more of like a club, right? Okay, so how do colleges go about making that like an actual Title IX sport versus it being a club? Because like Texas
has a lacrosse
soccer, they have lacrosse, soccer, and hockey. Girls is an actual sport, but the guys is a club. Hockey's a club, I'm pretty sure, and then lacrosse is a club as well. So like, how do you all know how to like make an actual sport?
That's a really good question, and Title IX is so quickly evolving. I mean, a few years ago, everybody was getting kicked out of school if somebody bought him a car or a watch or whatever as a
Yes.
collegiate athlete. And now all of a sudden, Reggie Bush, he's been reacquainted, if you will, with his Heisman Trophy that got taken away when he was at USC. And now all these college athletes have 6 and 9 figure deals, endorsement deals in the collegiate scene. So I think it's going to take some really smart players in the athletic director on down from there, deciding what is going to be a sport and what's going to be not considered a sport and more of just a club scene. But it's similar to everybody's thinking, hey, when's pickleball going to get into the Olympics? All these, what I would call quote unquote silly sports are in the Olympics.
Yeah, and they just added, what, like 8 more sports too?
Yeah, they had breakdancing.
Yes.
Well, though, for the 2026 one, they just added like 8 more sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's flag football is now one, and like pickleball wasn't a Summer Olympic sport yet.
No,
but
no,
I guarantee it'll be.
Hasn't been accepted yet. But
Yeah, it's like
one thing to your breakdancing point. One of the most popular Halloween costumes as of yesterday apparently was
That
the Australian
girl.
breakdancer.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So many things on social media that I saw while I was adding some stuff this morning were the Australian breakdancer, and everybody's doing this little silly pose. It's fantastic, but pickleball is I think for sure in the running for a future sport in the Olympics.
If it ever goes to college, have you ever even thought about like how to get people like NIL deals or like sponsor them as an athlete or whatever the case is? Because you said like I just saw the other day there's the freshman at Duke. He was like the #1 player in the country. I'm pretty sure he was the first person to get a Gatorade deal, and it's like worth $2.4 million.
Yeah,
but like
flag.
Yeah. Have you ever have you already been thinking about like ways to get people NIL deals?
Yeah.
Like being at right by the University of Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the first forays, like I was saying with the Penn State athletes, they were still in the club scene. Mount Aloysius was still in the club scene. The first university, to my knowledge, who actually had a traveling budget for the collegiate pickleball level was the University of Virginia, where Alexandra is attending. And she's the one who actually was telling me, hey, our travel expenses are paid to go. They played a big collegiate setup in San Diego at a venue called the Hub down there last year. And then that was kind of the build up to Peachtree, Georgia, the Duper National Collegiate Championships. But University of Virginia was paying for all these kids to go out there. And that was the first athletic director I had heard of in my sphere, at least, that was actually paying for these kids to go. But there's definitely a serious growth in that arena. Just a little bit ago, they had the Duper collegiate pickleball set up down at Urban Pickleball Club, and UT was playing against Baylor and Texas A&M. All 3 school clubs were down there, and now they're all heading to Brookhaven outside of Dallas for the Duper National Championships up there. But it's definitely growing in the collegiate scene for sure.
I've seen, I don't know if the World Pickleball Championship, isn't that in Fort Worth or Dallas as well this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you doing anything with that?
Yeah, we're going to be heading up there. We've got some athletes that are competing in that as well. And to be honest with you, just from a networking standpoint, it's like going to the World's Fair, basically, of pickleball. So definitely a good spot to go. And really, I don't know how these athletes are going to compete at that level throughout all this, but the collegiate level is going to be there. Obviously, all the amateur and intermediate level is going to be there. Major League Pickleball, that scene is playing there. And then obviously the World Championships. But the athletes that are going to compete in that many different tournaments or event venues they're going to be exhausted.
When is it?
They're going to sleep for a week. So the Collegiate National Championships are this weekend. And then following that is MLP. And then during the week, actually. And then next weekend is the Worlds. So,
so it's
all
like
the PPA players are going to be there as well.
You're about to be busy then.
Yeah. Dallas is crazy, and something that Connor has spearheaded, the director of the PPA tour, is he's realized, hey, let's have celebrities do an exhibition match here. Last year was one of the first years that they've done that, I think, up there, and they had Jason Kidd, Dirk Nowitzki, Scotty Scheffler was up there. some social media influencers in the pickleball space were all up there, and they were playing against each other. And to see Dirk Nowitzki playing against Jason Kidd on a pickleball court, and Scotty Scheffler is, roping ATPs and doing all these crazy shots and everything, is a lot of fun to see them breaking into it, because Dirk obviously has millions of fans on Instagram and social media. They're all going to tune in to watch that dude play pickleball. He's one of the only 7-footers that's out there playing pickleball, right? And he's a fun personality, so of course you'd want to see him out there playing some pickle.
Yeah, and that's a good way to get like the exposure to like get broadcasted to like ESPN or something, because you got the cornhole league on ESPN, so it's like
pickleball league's on there too.
Pickleball league's on there as well. So just like the more and more bigger names you can get on it, the more success it's gonna have.
And actually, people kind of got their feathers ruffled a little bit. A couple months ago, there was an MLS match that was kicking off, Major League Soccer match that was kicking off, and
saw that.
It actually, the match broadcast, the telecast got pushed back because the PPA Tour finals were going off, and so whoever the big heads are at ESPN actually moved the MLS match back to accommodate Major League Pickleball and the PPA.
That just shows you the power and growth that it's having.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that they're working on right now. They have Pickleball TV, which is kind of a surrogate of the Tennis Channel. And so they're working a lot of matches onto Pickleball TV, and you can watch them back on there and all that. And then they've got a deal. Pickleball TV has a deal with Amazon to where you can watch live on Amazon Live TV. But I think a big growth point for professional pickleball is going to be national TV deals, because then you get advertisers like Coors and big names, car companies, all that kind of stuff buying TV time, and I think that's going to really send it stratospheric even further.
So there's a pro team in Austin called the Austin Ranchers. I don't know what league they're affiliated with, but I know there's like a lot of collective people that are involved and stuff with that. Have you been able to work with them or kind of get your foot in the door with them at all?
I've been in talks a lot with Tim Klitsch. He's the original franchise owner of the Ranchers. And we've done a bunch of different collaborations over at his spot, the Austin Pickle Ranch over there in North Austin. And I've played in a bunch of his tournaments and done some different events over at his spot. So definitely growing the relationship with some of these team owners. And you can see now the growth of Major League Pickleball is the league that the Ranchers are a part of. And they're bringing in fractional ownership nonstop.
They
just announced Tim Tebow.
Lil Wayne is a
Lil
partner.
Wayne is in there. A lot of really big name business owners, investors, hedge fund owners, all that kind of stuff are just involved in the Texas Ranchers. And a team in Dallas, Fort Worth area, the Frisco Pandas, are a Major League Pickleball team. And one of the big valuation kind of breakthroughs of what these teams were valued at from a corporate valuation standpoint was the Frisco Pandas, the Dude Perfect guys, those buddies. They decided, hey, let's jump in and be owners in the Frisco Pandas. So obviously they had to do a valuation of the team, and they came back with like $10 million is what the Frisco Pandas were worth. And so then Dude Perfect is forking up money to be a fractional ownership in a $10 million team. 5 years ago, around 5 years ago, I believe, when Major League Pickleball was launched, I believe through the grapevine, people were buying those franchises for about $150,000.
Wow.
So your ROI is mind-blowing. And so then that's when you start getting in like the Texas Ranchers, where all the fractional owners, then it just really opens up what that team can do as far as notoriety and kind of brand awareness and followers. People that are saying that's my home team, like a UP or a Houston Texans or wherever, who you're going to root for. Now you've got a pickleball team that's local here to Austin that you can get behind and you can root for. And I think people who love Tim Tebow, they're all of a sudden going to be aware of the Texas Ranchers, who have never heard of pickleball before in their life. But now they can get acquainted to the sport, acquainted to a team, and realize, hey, there's some big fish jumping in. I mean, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, all these big time people, Jimmy V. I mean, all these guys are jumping in on these things, and and it's really able to grow the sport from a kind of an influence standpoint where, hey, somebody that's worth $1 billion is willing to throw down some coin to jump in on pickleball.
Yeah, I saw some of the merchandise and stuff, and I like the design. And I don't even play pickleball myself, but I was like, I'll get a Ranchers hat. It's Austin Ranchers, and it's like that's the kind of thing that it targets good demographic, good merch and things like that. And as you're saying that homegrown awareness, as the team starts playing matches, gets better. You're watching ESPN and you're like, oh, the Ranchers are playing right now. And then you get more invested, and then as the franchising works, because. It's a little different, but like there's this league, the Call of Duty League, like online gaming, esports. They kind of are trying to go in that franchising model. I don't think specifically for esports like that's as sustainable because it's online. It's kind of hard to designate, especially some of the teams. They don't like actually live in the city and stuff like that. So I feel like it's kind of hard to like designate, people being, this is, the New York subliners. Like, do all the people live in New York? No, most of them live in Texas, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to like, the pickleball team, it's like, well, this team's here, this team's in California. Then you can start kind of making content around each team, which I feel like is huge, like can kind of show the growth of the sport. And like the most immediate comparison I can think of that is F1. Have you watched Drive to Survive on Netflix before?
Absolutely.
So
one of the best shows out there.
So I started watching that. I've always been in the cars. I've always been in the F1. I've always been in the racing. I didn't watch it at that level, and I think like right when it like blew up in America was because of that Netflix show. I told Carlos to watch it. He ended up getting into F1, and then everyone else that's watched it has gotten into F1, and now we have Coda was just a couple weeks ago. We have a race in Vegas now, a race in Miami now. But I feel like a lot of people grew to like the sport because they got that in-depth look behind the scenes, and I wonder, there probably is something in the works right now, but I wonder if like any team, professional team, or even just like how I think Netflix had that golf show and that tennis show. Maybe they like followed around like 4 or 5 pickleballers and kind of do something similar, because they're doing that with basketball right now. Like they have the starting 5, they do receivers, quarterbacks. So I feel like once one of those hits too on like a Netflix where it's like, hey, we found the 4 to 6 best pickleball players in the world and we made a limited 10 episode series on them, I feel like that's going to even tremendously grow the sport even more.
Even to throw it like on a YouTube series,
just
for somebody trying to get the sport out there that is very passionate about it. Just find someone that's a good freelancer photographer or videographer, and then just have them follow them, get 2 to 3 guys, have them pay for the expenses to go travel where they need to go, and follow them around for their season or for the week of the match or whatever the case is.
And I think there's a lot of potential growth there. Because now that we're at this level of popularity in the sport, a lot of people are getting acquainted with the personalities of the sport. Tyson McGuffin he's like the bad boy of the sport. He's all sleeved up in tats, but when you get to know him and you meet him in person, super genuine guy, awesome dad. He's got his lovely wife Megan, who's always on tour with him, bringing the kiddos along. His kids are giving him high fives, all that kind of stuff. And he's got a really successful podcast around the sport. And it's based obviously in Idaho where he's at. But now they're doing remote content where they're doing like behind the scenes stuff where he's training and the different people that he's meeting and the different deals that he's working on and stuff. And so people are getting to know the personalities behind it. And I think to your point with the Texas Ranchers, so Gary Vaynerchuk, who obviously is extremely famous in the entrepreneurial scene and motivational speaker, all that kind of stuff, they just had the Major League Pickleball tour stop in Central Park. He's based in New York. His buddy, his business partner, is based in Miami, and they're always going back and forth. But in New York City, one of the things that Gary was talking about was as Major League Pickleball progresses, what they would like to do, ideally, get a good television deal going on, and then produce the Texas Ranchers would actually have a home venue. So Miami Pickleball Club is actually traveling to Austin, Texas to play a series of matches. Then they're going to Arizona. Then they're going to Brooklyn to play the Brooklyn team, and then you can really create a team following of loyal fans to where they know this night or this day, this weekend, 2 months from now, honey, we've got tickets to see the Texas Ranchers play. And they know Miami Pickleball Club's going to be there. and they know who is on the Miami Pickleball Club, who we're playing
What
against.
personalities.
Yep,
And then you
all
can
that
kind
kind
of
of
create
stuff.
the drama. It's like, oh, this person left, because we wanted to bring in this young up and coming talent, and then you got
Yep.
this old guy who has like his redemption arc on like another team and
Yep.
still playing well. Like I feel like all the storylines, like all that stuff, just continues to grow the sport because people, they just gravitate to who they like, and then they just attach themselves, and it's like, dang, he's not on the Austin Ranchers anymore, but he's on the Miami club, and now I'm a Miami fan, because I like
Yeah.
that guy, and
Yep.
it just kind of
Yep.
creates the demographic of it.
I mean, yeah, going back to what he said with F1, like I was a Daniel Ricciardo fan. Like I wasn't a fan of the car, the team that he was racing for.
Yeah.
I was just a fan of the driver. And when he left and went to McLaren, I was a McLaren fan, and then went back to the
AlphaTauri.
AlphaTauri Red Bull. I was a fan of them, and then he went back to Red Bull. So wherever the driver goes that I like, I'm a fan of that.
Yeah.
So it's the same concept. But one last thing for me, so y'all like an apparel racket company, I guess. Do y'all kind of want to stay in that realm, or do y'all ever like want to form a team, or do y'all just want to be like the Nikes, the Pings, the Louisville Sluggers, where y'all just this is the company you come for to get your paddles or your shoes or whatever the case is?
Yeah, I really like the space that I'm in as of right now, just from a creative side of things, because there's so much autonomy there. And yeah, we do paddles, apparel, hats, jerseys, all that kind of stuff. And then the nice thing with that is forming all these collaborations with all these other entrepreneurs. Then all of a sudden you carry something that I don't manufacture. I carry something that is a training device, or something to enhance your recovery, or whatever the case is there. And I think that on that side of things, it's a lot of fun for me as well from a creative side. We just recently formed a partnership with a guy named Jake Margus, who's a local entrepreneur here, and he came up with a recovery device that is called the Cold Plunge Caddy. And there's a huge amount of research now around cold plunging and the benefits of that, and the heat therapy and all that kind of stuff. And Jake, he's on the genius side of this thing, where he decided, hey, why does somebody need thousands of dollars, whatever they end up spending on a cold plunging setup, when for under $100 you can get a cold plunge caddy. This caddy gets mounted in your shower, your home shower. You place large ice cubes in there. Your shower head spills down cold water onto the ice cubes. You get water in the 40s degrees showering down on you. You're done with the cold plunge therapy. Take it down out of your shower or hang it on the side, and then you've got all the benefits of cold plunging without this thousands of dollar cold plunge setup, or having to go somewhere after you are ready to recover. Now you've got to go to another location and cold plunge, where I'm not coming up with this genius idea. I'm collaborating with him and creating a partnership. So now I'm bringing in recovery and wellness to the Dink Ninjas family and offering something that I didn't come up with, but I think it's a great product. I think it'll develop into a great partnership, and being able to jump from there in the pickleball space to now instantly being in the recovery and wellness space. And then you can just expand from there with different partnerships.
And it all aligns, like it all, like, kind of in that same bucket,
For sure.
You have what you specialize in, and it's like this person has this developed. It's like, let's work together, let's collaborate.
Yeah.
And it's nice too, because if you do get to sponsor, just say the best pickleball player in the world, like when they have their jersey on, they have to have like a Dink Ninja sponsor, and then they get access to whoever health and wellness you bring on, and then their paddles, their jerseys, and then you have the kids like, oh, I want to be like him. They see Dink Ninjas, they go to the Dink Ninjas website and just start buying stuff from y'all. So it just all kind of just funnels back to the same place.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I've found with a lot of this stuff is, as you get to know people, the community really is very small. It's pretty intimate in the number of entrepreneurs and the number of people who are trying to come up with cutting edge products and wanting to collaborate. It's a lot of fun to be a part of the community.
And one last thing for me, what are just some of your, end of the year goals, maybe, early next year goals that you want to accomplish? And then what is like your long-term vision with Dink Ninjas?
I think in the short term, one of the next things that I'm going to work on is really laying a strong foundation in the collegiate pickleball scene. Since there's so much energy in the collegiate scene, just recently talking to a lot of the kids down there in Austin that are playing for A&M and Baylor and Texas, UT there. I'd really like to plant a flag in the collegiate scene. It's such a vibrant, dynamic scene with so many different personalities at all these colleges, and there's so much energy behind jumping into the sport that I think in the near future I'd like to plant a flag in the collegiate scene. Long term, my goal with this whole thing, just from the origin, was to grow a positive community. And so if I can continue to do this, continue to build brand awareness and recognition out there, and get a fan base like you're talking about with these different teams and with the different brands, if I can grow a community and a fan base and establish a larger and larger community of people who are recovery and wellness minded, who are pickleball minded, who are just plain and simple getting off the couch minded and staying active. If I can be instrumental in any capacity to bring people out of their houses and meeting people, collaborating with people, and being healthy, that's my goal. If I can just continue to grow that community, I consider it a success for sure.
Yeah.
This was a pleasure. I think I have a misconception on pickleball. I feel like it's a lot slower pace than what it actually is. So I've never watched a match. I've seen it from afar, but I've never watched like anybody intensively play. So I do got to check something out. Or whenever y'all have something, just take a visit and go support you and see what's going on. But I do want to play. I haven't gotten the chance. Like they have 4 paddles.
Yeah, I have 4 paddles. Me and my girlfriend played a couple times. I want to play here. There was a collective like community league here, and then like there's they do Elite Week, and then they'll have like the NFL guys play and stuff like that here as well.
So I do need to hop on the court with him and check it out. But
it can get fast paced. Like it depends on the level. Like if you're playing like with a pro or like even just like someone athletic, like it can get pretty fast paced.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, and check out. You want to see some fast paced stuff? Check out. In South America, they had the World Pickleball Championships down there just recently, and I'll tell you what, there's some fast-paced hand battles down there. You're like, where's the ball? Where's the ball?
Yeah, I got to check it out.
Pretty amazing. Amazing.
Thank you taking the time out your day. It was a pleasure.
absolutely.
I love learning more about the sport just because it's always something new that I learn every time I talk about pickleball. So thank you taking time out your day and doing this with us. Hopefully this isn't the last time, or hopefully we can work on a collaboration somehow, some way.
Want to keep, any way we can help you out, especially like outside the podcast, us doing media for you as well. Or, we had talked on the phone, with the pros and stuff you're meeting, maybe, curating a show with pros or, interviewing them and just doing little things that kind of help evolve and push the sport. Because I feel like it has been around for a while, but I feel like it's now starting to get to the point to where it's becoming like super popular and peaking, and especially in a town like Austin. I mean, I feel like there's 20,000 pickleball like facilities here, and then there's a ton of other brands here as well. You got a pro team here, so I feel like it's like the prime opportunity to start working and building and documenting that side of it, because I feel like that aspect hasn't really been tackled quite yet. Like it's gonna be here soon, I think. So
yeah, sky's the limit.
Yeah,
man. I'd love to continue to work together.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thanks so much for having me on, guys.
Of course.
Pleasure for sure.
And where can they find your brands at?
So you can go on dinkninjas.com is our website, and then at Dink Ninjas on basically every social media platform out there.
Alrighty.
Nice. Do you have like I haven't checked yet, but do you have like a YouTube channel or anything?
In its infancy right now.
All right.
Nothing super serious on there yet, but TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. Cool. LinkedIn, obviously, as well.
Yeah.
Alrighty. That'll do it from our boys over at Opinionated. We'll catch y'all guys next time. Peace.
Peace.
Later.